Yeah, it's easier.
I gotta be honest, I
Are you
don't
ready,
use my
Mr.
office
Chair?
office, so I'm like,
Yeah.
For Stevens too, I think he's got
Yeah.
the presentation. Good evening, everybody. It is Monday, November 25th, 2024. This is the regular meeting of the Recreation Advisory Board. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Chairman Simon,
Here.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
here,
Councilwoman Vargas.
Here.
Jenna Lafayette.
Here.
Kenneth Phillips.
Here.
We have 5 present, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and I would just say thank you. This is the first time I think we've had a full meeting. I think probably since we've been meeting. So, thank you guys for attending. I know it's a busy week with Thanksgiving, so appreciate you guys making the time. We are here at the Battistini Recreation Center today. I want to acknowledge Councilwoman Joanne Ryan, who is with us today,
Thank you.
who will be a part of this meeting. Inviting you to feel free to chime in when you'd like, especially as it relates to Battistini Center. I will start off by saying that Councilwoman Ryan has been an amazing advocate for this center. In fact, it would not be here but for her efforts. And we had a chance to do a tour before starting the meeting today, and there's a lot of assets in this recreation facility, which we'll be hearing about, that don't exist in other facilities and really are an asset to the city, and opening them up after school hours, and hopefully, I think into the future, as we start to talk about more programming for here too. It's a huge asset to the city. So Councilwoman Ryan, thank you for all you've done for this,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
for this center.
My pleasure.
And for all that you've done. We're in mighty Ward 5 over here, ladies and gentlemen. My home ward.
Well represented, I hope.
So agenda today, we're gonna do as we always do when we're at the rec center, a presentation from the Battistini staff. We have John Barnoli here, who is the director of the center. Director Grace, as always, is with us today, and will be a part of the meeting. And then I did add an agenda item. I'm not sure there's gonna be too much to talk about on this, but I did not want the meeting to go by without at least touching on it. There was, as everybody read, I'm sure, the past couple of weeks, a lot of back and forth between RIDE and the city as it relates to the school budget. There's a lot of talk around what the potential implications to recreation could be, so we'll talk about that briefly. There's a lot of information just yet, but I did not want the meeting to go by without talking about that. We are in the middle of basketball, and we are about to enter into the bigger basketball registration phase, so we'll touch base on that. And then we're gonna talk about website, online registration, and communications. I have on here a discussion on winter and spring programming. I think this will probably be the item that I'll continue to the next meeting. We have a lot of agenda items to get through today, and I don't want to keep everybody here until late. So I think this is probably one that we'll kick out to the next meeting, and then as we always do, we'll open up for public comment. So before we get started, are there any other additions anybody would like to make to this, or any conversations talking about the agenda? All right, then Director Grace and Director Fagnoli, and I'm sure Councilwoman Ryan will also have what to say about this presentation, but
Happy to jump in.
we are very happy to be here at the Battistini Center, and the floor is yours to tell us about all the great things that are going on here and how we can continue to help you.
All right, welcome to Battistini. We recently took a tour, so you've seen it in person, but we recently got our front lobby, our gymnasium. We didn't get the pool redone, but we got the cafeteria and the activity room redone. Want to go to the next slide?
What's going on with the playground?
The playground is under construction. We have a temporary playground in right now. I believe we're working on a grant. Yes,
It's multiple sources that we're trying to
Okay.
get funding, yeah, so.
yeah. So we're
We can
trying
do
to. we're
And
trying to
that's
get-
on us as the recreation department to find that funding, as a city, or is it?
No, we're still
schools as
looking.
well?
Like to find grants, so like we've applied for one, but we're waiting to see if a couple others that we can apply to. And when the second round of those come around, so we're trying to, and we're working with the principal as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So construction
Mr.
started,
Chair?
but you're not funded?
No, it hasn't started.
Okay.
Yes, Councilwoman.
So the playground that they're referencing is the school playground. Obviously, there's a lot of green space around Battistini Rec that the rec center utilizes in the good weather. The field, the soccer field and all that. And we've put a considerable amount of investment in grading the soccer field, putting in the concession stand. There's bathrooms out there. We're putting in a scoreboard that's going in. There's gonna be irrigation and there's gonna be a splash pad in the back.
Okay.
And we're working with the school department to make sure that the splash pad is in a form and functional for special needs population of the school. So they've always had a very small playground at the heart in between the middle of the pod, between the gym, as a matter of fact, and that school when we went through that door to get into the school. It's a very tiny playground and it was special needs functioning playground. but over time, the equipment has degraded. And they're trying to get dollars so that they can rebuild that. It will be a partnership, I'm sure, with the rec department and the school. Because obviously we all want to work together and maximize the dollars that are invested into the facility.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a question, Sherman.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's for my colleague. Why wasn't like the playground renovation included in like the rest of the school?
Resources.
It was just
did
like
the
that,
best- Yeah,
yeah.
they did the best they could. And I think that it became apparent that there were challenges after the scope of work and the contract was executed.
Mhm.
But I do think that there's room for modifications.
Yeah,
So it's a focus of mine and we'll work on it.
And is the
That was a
school
good question.
construction, is the school construction completely done at this point?
No, mostly, but there's
There's still some odds and
There's
ends they're
still-
gonna wrap up.
Yeah, and one of the big pet peeves for me was I asked for the trash to be removed. If anybody came here before, you come in the back
Yeah.
and you were greeted with huge overfilled dumpsters that were in clear sight, foul smelling. And that's the way youngsters and families were greeted when they came to this rec center.
Mhm.
So, one of the things that I have been fighting for and hopefully, successful in, at least that was the last commitment that I gotten from the contracting and public property folks. They moved the dumpsters to the other side or the end of the driveway there. I think that you
Yeah.
probably can see it. It's easier for the trucks to come in and pick up the trash and take it out. And it got it away from the front door. I asked for there to be a ramp built up there, so that it was handicap accessible. Here we are, a special needs facility, and if someone comes to the rec center with a special needs, they really can't get in here unless they go all the way through the school.
Yeah.
So that is something that I've focused on and have tried to build a solution for, and I think the solution is a ramp. I'm surprised at seeing that generator there. That was not in the plan. So that landed there once there was an open space.
Yeah.
So I want to follow up on that. That was, it's not something that was in the plan that was
Yeah.
reviewed, that I reviewed, nor want to be there.
Mm.
So again, trying to make it a more welcoming, and ADH compliant.
Yeah.
Facility.
Yeah, which we're striving.
I mean, if you can think about, you come in multiple steps, not multiple, but, well, two, multiple steps to get in, that'll qualify. To get in the front door, of the rec center, and that's not right.
the splash pad, the recreation center or the school? Oh, both.
The splash pad, is being put in by the, Parks Department. Parks Department manages the
The field.
field that the rec center utilizes.
Yeah, there's a massive field in the back over here, which I'm not arguing into there now, but there's a huge field in the back, yeah.
Yeah, about the size of, I'd say 1.5 soccer fields. I know the hurling team has used it in the past and they require a very large field.
Yeah.
They require a long
Yeah.
field, and that is the longest field in the city. And the hurling club, which is the fastest sport in the world,
Fastest.
fastest. I'm having trouble saying that. Before you said it, I was okay. But the Providence Hurling Club hails from the utilizes that as their home field. And they had help me, Tony, excuse me, Mr. Chair. ESPN had a drone come and film them.
Oh,
So it's kind of interesting. It's another thing that's unique to
Yeah.
Battistini, but more importantly, when we opened this rec center, it was on a shoestring budget. I campaigned door to door, and the neighbors, families, single moms, working families wanted a rec center. Place to take their family members for safe programming after school. And we didn't have one. They'd have to go to another area, another neighborhood. Also, the close proximity to the colleges, it would be very helpful to have a rec center here. $50,000, we basically we put a security door to blockade off the school partition. But the hurlers were absolutely wonderful in helping us paint, helping us do
Field Irish Circle
manual labor, yeah, but manual labor that was needed
Yeah.
to clean the place up on a regular basis
That's
and
great.
come in and work with the youngsters when we didn't have programming dollars. So there's a symbiotic, natural relationship that we
That's
have.
great.
I want to continue it. That's why we need to make sure that the length of the field is consistent. If you guys know there's a dog leg, does everybody know there's a dog leg around the field? I've asked that be grassed over in the back end, nobody goes there.
Yeah,
So that gives us more room, and with the installation of the splash pad, pushing it back makes all the sense in the world.
Speaking of the field, recently Providence put all their salt back there. It wasn't a problem 3 years ago, but last year I watched a lot of it leach into the field and killed. I want to say a good eighth of the field.
So I
that might
asked
be
for that to
something,
be removed.
Okay,
That won't be there
you're always
again.
ahead of me.
Mhm.
Who's that? Who did that? DPW or Parks?
DPW had to find a
Okay.
place to put it, and
In
they
the
put it
neighborhood,
yeah.
there, and I asked for it to be removed. It's never gonna be
they've
there
always had a
again.
hard time finding an area in the neighborhood to put. With the materials that are needed for when we have storms. I think they used the water supply board for a while and that became problematic.
They couldn't
and
put it there either. It's-
I want
I'm
to
just-
use tricks.
Yeah,
They can't do that now because
Yeah.
that's, I keep.
Yeah, I know.
I keep improving the
Yeah.
parking spaces and the spaces, so it becomes, they can't use it.
continue on, Mr. Director, and let's kind of get through this presentation.
All right. Here we have, just some pictures. Ooh, who's that? Joanne Ryan. That was a picture from all our lifeguard graduates from last year. I believe we had like 20.
More. It was like
More than
28.
20.
That was the second group.
Oh, that was the second group. Yeah, we had like,
Yeah.
probably closer to 40.
You had 18 the first time, 18 or 19, and then you had 17 the second time around.
Okay.
And these are all of our lifeguards for the summer program.
Mhm.
Right, all the areas.
They lifeguard at all the outdoor pools. Very professional, great, and also it's great to give a job to like a 16, 17-year-old kid and teach him some
Who
responsibility.
trains the lifeguards?
Combination of me, my hopeful future assistant, and I've been helped in the past. What else? We had someone come from RIFC. He gave a presentation about jobs in sports, outside of being a professional soccer player. I think you came with us to RIFC game. Yeah, that was a great experience. I honestly, I should put a video of that because the chanting was insane.
We'll put it on the record now, congratulating our RIFC
Make it to the finals.
team for getting to the finals, and they'll be in the new stadium next year, and I'm
Yeah.
confident they will win it, so good luck, guys.
Hey, we love that. We have, oh, sorry, very good, go to next. Okay, it's a little out of order, but I'll power through. The after-school program happens right after, so 3:15, they start coming down. We have about, I think it's 57 coming from Pleasant View, an additional 15 to 20 from outside.
Wow.
So we have around 60 to 70 every day, for that.
And is that oversubscribed, or like, do you have room for more kids, or what's the cap?
If we're good on budget, I would take another 15, 20. We recently did a split where we send half our kids to the cafeteria to work on homework and also provide free meals. They're doing arts and crafts. They're also, if they don't have homework, we're focused on like reading, like sight words or flashcards. Just something to really reinforce learning.
John, what was our high number? Wasn't it 90-ish?
Before COVID,
Yes. Our high number before we got hit by
it was a
COVID.
lot. It was, we had about 120 signed up. We would average about 90.
And we don't turn anybody away, or is there a?
I try not to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep a balance right now, so I don't have like 60 second graders and then like 5 fifth graders and like you just like.
No, but I'm saying if a parent from the school comes to you and says, I want to enroll my child in after school.
As long as
general
I have
acceptance
room,
still,
and like
yeah,
I'm trying to accept as many as I can.
We have more room.
Yeah.
What's your staffing like, John?
Between ratio or
In general, yeah.
so I have,
So you don't have an assistant director right now?
right now I don't have an assistant director. I know she put an application in and put her resume in, so I think steps are being taken towards that.
Have you had an assistant director in the past?
Not since March. It used to be Pedro Pena. He recently became a police officer. Very proud of him. He worked very hard to get there.
Pedro was one of the first, youngsters
Yeah. I
that
think it was-
came to,
Was he the first one hired you? Like that first?
he was the first youngster that came to the rec center.
Yeah.
As a young person, he stayed with us. And, one of the things that I hope to do at the rec center was develop the young folks that came to the rec center. So I asked the then rec center director to find a supervisor for the summer camp programs. And Pedro emerged. He was a shy kid. He emerged and the kids loved him. So he became a regular supervisor. And then when the position of assistant director came available, you know, there were rec center directors and other places that had people they wanted to bring in here. And I said, our whole program is based on developing the youngsters that come to this rec center.
Smart. Yeah.
So I want Pedro, I think he was the youngest assistant director that we had in the entire program. And he's our success story. He served, how many years was he here as an assistant director?
I want to say 2 years.
And he was in the new recruits for the police department.
Congratulations, Pedro.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And also congratulations to you for
Yeah.
being
That's great.
a leader
It
that
was
helped
great.
nurture and develop him. So thank you, John.
Thank you. No, and that, going back to staffing, that is pretty much my philosophy. A lot of my staff now came from either the summer program or the after-school program from years past, and now are like 15, 16 years old, looking for jobs. Some attend Mount Pleasant, some attend PCTA, but all great neighborhood kids.
Good.
So that goes that, we do swim lessons, that is in partnership with Orca. They provide free swim lessons for 45 kids. So we
So
have,
tell us who Orca is now. Not
Okay.
everybody knows who Orca is.
Orca is a swim company. They came over, I want to say last December. They started renting because, Providence pool exploded, in so many words.
Mhm.
And, they were looking for a home and we were able to provide it for a short time. I believe they're going back in January, so that opens the door, so some new possibilities coming then. They're a great company, family owned. They run a swim team, which is the most diverse in New England and also the only one with, 2 African-American coaches. So even though they're not from Providence, it feels like they have Providence in their heart.
And John did a really good job. When we opened up like more rentals and more usage, when he brought the opportunity, the only thing that I said, because it's a good investment into the center. But the commitment to have recreation kids be part of the program,
Mhm.
and that's what we really, wanted. And that was like the selling point for us to have that many kids learn how to swim.
Yeah.
I do think
I do
we
want
could-
to talk a lot, like, more about the swim program specifically, because I think it's one of the features of this rec center that's really important that we don't
Absolutely.
talk about enough in the city. But I also want to be conscious of our time. So it's 11:25 now. How many more slides are in the presentation?
So this is kind of getting into
Okay.
the rest of the
All right,
program.
let's keep moving
He
through.
kind of already talked about.
Let's keep moving through, and then I want to save at least like 5 minutes to have a conversation about swim specifically.
All right, so moving on, we have our basketball program starting. We started about a month ago recruiting and like getting kids involved and getting them up to a level. For the first time, it looks like we're gonna have a problem with too many kids,
All right.
so we might have to actually cut, which surprising me, but we have a new player pool.
Yeah, I'll talk about.
We'll talk about that with
We'll talk about that
basketball,
later.
right?
Yep.
We're not gonna be cut, hopefully.
We shouldn't be cutting anyway.
Yeah.
Soccer hasn't started yet. We usually do that in spring. I try to keep them focused on basketball until basketball, it's hard to split their attention.
Wait, so soccer, you're feeding into the soccer program that we started in the spring?
Yeah, he actually is like one of the coaches, like John's a
Great,
soccer
okay,
player.
good.
and so
All right,
that's-
all right. I didn't know that. I thought you were saying you had soccer here specifically, but that's.
No, that's something I'm
Okay.
hoping in the spring.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
it's something that we've talked about a lot about, yeah.
Yeah, so we talked swim briefly, getting back into it, I'm trying to get and.
John, you gotta fix the TV.
Yeah.
The remote. You need the TV.
Um. I love that. Oh, I'm trying to get my lifeguard certificate, no, lifeguard teacher certification, bit of a mouthful. But it will allow us to train lifeguards in-house. And if we get another person as well, we can teach up to 30 kids at one time. Which on top of mean, we can have all our rec center, lifeguards taught here. We can take a weekend and teach kids outside of Providence Recreation. We charge them the standard fee and we can raise, I think it's around 6,000 in one weekend. Wow, so a good way to generate some money.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good opportunity.
For field trips, we went to Roger Williams Pumpkin. Everyone loves that. Kids loved it. I think we went twice. Yeah, 2 times.
Great.
Orca Aquatics we covered, and then IFC we actually covered. Okay, now we can move on to the next. Our attendance was,
Actually, I can't,
sorry,
a little bit, thank you.
attendance started off in like 70s. We quickly got to like the average in hundreds.
So this was, so again, so this is August, that you were
The end of summer.
closed, you were
Yeah.
closed for how long because of renovation?
all last year.
All of last year, so
Yeah.
August when you reopened officially?
So we had a summer program
had
that was still
some-
impacted a little bit from
Yeah.
construction, and we were open last year, but it was at like it was.
Yeah, I know, I was in
yeah.
here last year and everything was hanging down
Yeah.
from the ceilings and whatnot.
Yeah, no, it was a little crazy, and I wasn't a huge fan of having young children there at the time.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of like geared everything towards the
see
high
that.
schoolers, just because they're a little bit more responsible, and I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about them.
And it actually started prior to like the
Yeah.
summer, so. During the winter, there was, closures in the gym, they were doing some phased renovations and. So to answer like your question, it kind of goes into the assistant director, he hasn't had one since March. There was closures, he wasn't open for a
Yeah.
while, so we weren't staffing it, and so we recently opened up the applications for it, so. Pending the hiring freeze being over, we'll be able to get somebody in here. But what you're really looking at here is like, we measure the attendance from the end of the summer, so that's the day that summer ended. And he's actually doing great.
Yeah,
In
these are
terms
good
of attendance,
numbers.
it's actually very good. And the 123 registered members is what his center has been doing to actually sign kids and people up as registered members of the Department of Recreation.
Under rec desk?
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
I'm a huge fan of Red Desk.
Good, I'm glad you're using it.
Now, if you go up front, you'll also see we have a 2D barcode reader. I'm trying to turn David on to them because they are phenomenal. You
Yeah.
literally just scan it, or you can take a picture of the ID and just
Yeah.
scan the phone. It makes it a lot easier for
That's
everyone to sign that.
What caused a spike like that in October 27 when it went to 194?
That was, we had,
Halloween party?
I believe, a Halloween event. Yeah, Halloween event. So, on top of our normal attendance, we had like another 100 or so.
What do you staff for, kids?
How much staff do I have?
To cover, what's
I
this?
believe 12 staff on. I don't bring all of them in at all times. I average between 5 and 6 a day,
What's the head count per staff members there?
15. Yeah, 15 per staff. Center needs, I would love to replace the bubbler. I asked construction to do it many times. It's very outdated. I would not recommend anyone drinking from it.
I didn't think they were supposed to be using bubblers.
Oh, I literally blocked it off, and we've been filling the cooler and like having
I think it
Yeah,
was like the bottle, they were supposed to install the bottle thing.
Yeah.
That goes, yeah.
they did install one, but it's all the way
Is that
down the
health
hallway, and I don't
issue?
wanna, like, I really don't want to send kids that far down to the school. Revamping the boys locker room would be a big help. We recently put in portable, like temporary changing stalls, and it made a big difference. A lot more boys are swimming. Before, a lot would just avoid it because they didn't want to get changed in front of people. It's understandable. It also
Whether they want a
cut
big
down.
wide open shower.
It's wide open. It is as open as this room.
Yeah, then they did no renovations to it.
They did the floor and they did the ceiling. That was it.
And that was it.
So that would be huge.
You know what they, I mean, just as like an inexpensive fix to that, though, that I've seen like on Amazon, like you put them up by the pool side, they have like the pop up.
Yeah, no, we have right now 2 or 3 portable, like they just pop up.
Yeah. That's like, okay.
So that's our
Alright.
temporary fix. I would pop a permanent fix because they're starting to break down.
Okay.
So JR, when you have needs like that, can you let me know?
Absolutely.
Because I have resources. You shouldn't be waiting
Okay.
for anything.
Absolutely, I love to hear that. As I'm sure some of you know this coming in, the lighting's always been a little off.
Yeah,
They've been working on the street light.
although the lighting inside now is one
Lighting
hundred
inside.
percent.
Inside,
I mean, yeah.
It's actually
It's a safety- it's a safety issue outside, that's
Yeah.
Rhode Island
Yeah.
Energy, right?
Outside, yeah,
Like, these
No,
kids are walking
outside
across
it's-
the street with traffic and.
yeah.
And we had a conversation, like, it's, and not to like throw everything on them, but that was a conversation where the school system was
Yeah.
supposed to be doing that as part of the construction project as
lighting
well.
is part of the construction project, so if, I'm gonna check on that, I'm checking
Yeah.
on the generator, why it's there, where the ramp is and lighting.
Well, you know, the other thing I was thinking though too, in terms of safety, and you mentioned it, Councilwoman, with the dumpster and the generator kind of being where it is. I mean, to have trucks going in and out of that area where people
It's
are entering
dangerous.
is a very dangerous
Yeah.
thing. So at some point, I'm actually wondering, this is probably more long-term, is whether you extend a hallway sort of out to, like, add on to the building and you extend a hallway kind of out to the street, so that way they're not coming inside of that area where
It's
trucks
a
are
very
coming in and
dangerous
out.
area, and if
Yeah.
you've got 123, someone pointed out that high number. Imagine 123 little ones running in and out around that area, it's not,
And parking is very tight
Yep.
too, so a lot of people. running
even
in there.
tonight, it was
Yeah.
hard to
Oh, yeah.
to find a spot.
Oh, yeah.
Well, those are great attendance numbers.
Which is great, so,
Yeah.
And so the volleyball lines in the gym, this is interesting, I'm interested.
The last one's the volleyball lines. We had
We had-
volleyball poles and like a whole setup, like phenomenal setup installed. What was it, 5 years ago now?
I paid to have the volleyball,
The poles,
the
net.
poles
yeah.
sunk into the floor.
Yep.
They were supposed to paint the lines. I was never informed that they didn't paint the lines, because I believe I paid for them.
I had that issue at another place too, where I just walked in and kind of noticed
So
they didn't paint some
that's
line.
That
why
needs to
I'm
get done.
asking
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
to stay connected with me.
So that's interesting though too, 'cause this goes into like the expansion of programming, once we have volleyball lines, like I know my daughter actually like dying to play volleyball.
A lot of kids love it.
Yeah,
So I invested in it because I was approached by a women's volleyball
Mhm.
league. And I said, I'll invest in the program. If you can recall the
Oh,
person that I
yeah.
connected you with, so that was, I invested in it because they wanted to run a women's volleyball program out of Battistini. I said, that's fabulous.
yeah.
So there's the need out there.
Director Grace has mentioned it before. that
Yeah,
they
we have
want
one
to
at,
do a lot of
at
our
Baker
rec
Brown right
centers,
now,
really,
yeah.
they want to be playing
Yeah.
volleyball, so.
Kids love it.
Okay,
Thanks, John, appreciate it.
well, so, but, you're not done yet. Have a seat though, for sure.
Okay.
But let's talk about swimming specifically, because I do think, you know, again, very unique to this center. We've seen it as an indoor pool. And my hunch is that, and I've been sort of just kind of litmus test of this around just people asking me. I don't think anybody really knows about it. I mean, I think there's like a small population who utilizes it and there's the Orca program and whatnot, but I don't think people from across the city sort of generally know that it's there. And so, you know, I know that we're partnering with Orca and that is coming up in January, but can you guys talk to us a little bit more about what the plan is to utilize that pool for open swims, swim lessons? I think, you know, things that are run through the rec department or that are in partnership that, you know, I think you said Orca has slots for like 45 kids in Providence, but so there's the question around like just general swim lessons and things like that, because I talk to a lot of parents who, you know, you tell them about like, oh, that's great, I didn't know it existed. I send my kids to pods in East Providence or the YMCA or whatever it is. So if we talk a little bit about that piece of it, and I also am kind of curious to hear about the open swim. I know that happens twice a week. What are the numbers like for that? Do people come in to the center who are not necessarily after school program, but like, do people know about that? And then this kind of goes into one of the points we're going to talk about today about communications, is what's the communications plan to get this out? It's a lot.
It's a very long question.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot.
We're
So-
gonna break
so
it
let's
up.
break it down.
So, John,
Director, before you start, just to like, not to like add a whole other question, but just like where I would get like to get clarity, is so there's how many pools in the rec department? Like 4, 3?
5 outdoor, 1 indoor.
So is there like a plan that your department is leading like citywide, like, you know, like a vision for the pools
Yes,
as a
so
whole? Or
nobody knows.
does
and
each
yeah.
pool operate on its own?
Yeah, I'm gonna get into that.
It's kind of like
actually
my,
right now.
my first.
So what I'll do is I'll have John answer the open swim question and then I'll answer the other one.
Okay. Let's start with open swim. So
Yeah.
open swim is Tuesdays and Thursdays from
Tuesdays
3
and
to 5.
Thursdays, 3 to 5.
And
1:30 to
Saturdays,
5.
does Orca use the pool on Saturdays
Yes,
or is
they
it?
use it to 12 o'clock. So that does leave us 12 to 2 where we can do open swim as well.
Mhm.
There are multiple forms of open swim that I was thinking. You can put lanes in, and I've been messing with Rec Desk, and you can actually like make individual lane rentals. The only thing I'm struggling with, and I'll talk to David about that, is I don't wanna put it on Rec Desk and then have one person rent like a lane every single time.
Yeah, but I mean, let's
Wanna
talk
be able to,
about
like,
outside
keep
of
it
just
open.
rental in general. And,
Yeah.
Like if I'm,
Well, not rent, reserve, sorry.
well, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, just exactly reserved.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you're coming in and you want to do
Yeah.
laps. Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. So what I was thinking was half an hour reserves, half an hour reservation. And then you can do 4 lanes, so you'll be able to do 8 an hour. So you'll be able to help 16 people in a 2 hour period. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, you multiply it by 2, 3 days, then you start seeing the numbers. The other open swim is you essentially put like a line across and it just like stops the kids from being able to go to the deep end. And that's more just like they play around, they have
Yep.
fun, but like they're not really gonna learn how to swim.
But what about like youth swimming lessons? I actually feel like that's where a big need is, and that's where a lot of people like outsource to, again, to pods.
Yeah, so
to
I'll
other-
I'll answer that question there,
Okay.
because what John doesn't know, one of the things that he mentioned to you was that I had asked him to go get lifeguard trainer certified, right? As well as the assistant
Lifeguard
director.
trainer
to
certified to be able to
Yeah.
train.
Lifeguard.
Okay,
Correct.
Yeah.
So
who
train
did-
train
one que-
trainers.
So a question on that. So who trained our last cohort? Was that Orca?
Ivan,
Ivan.
yeah, so he works with us during the summer, but he only works with us during the summer.
And he's a trained trainer?
Correct.
Okay.
So he can train people that can train,
I see.
and then he can train lifeguards, so it's a little bit different. And so we don't have anybody on our staff that can do that. So what I had asked John was, what he didn't know is that this is gonna lead to our own department within recreation that's going to be based on our pools. So what I had asked of John was, go get trained, right? We'll take care of it so that you can start creating our own lifeguards within recreation that not only work in the summer, but work throughout the year.
Right.
So that's where this is gonna come in, where we create this department where we always have the ability to train, and then we can always have a trained lifeguard or somebody on the staff here during the colder months to be running swimming program throughout the year. The major problem was, an issue was, is that one, we didn't train anyone to do this, and two, 5 of our pools are only open during the summer,
Right.
right? And so the logical next step was to just build a program through Battistini and work with John to be able to do that. And I talked with the council, and we had talked about this before, like, how do you get more people in here to take advantage of that? We have to have the people qualified to be able to run programs like that. And so that's our first step to be able to do that. What's that gonna develop into is that when we have like swimming during the summer, we, like you saw on the slide earlier where we had a lifeguard graduation, we only utilize them for 7 weeks out the year, right? And a lot of them return to either school because they're college kids and we can't depend on them long term. So that's where we need to really build this department so that we can consistently have folks coming through. And also, I think the right term is centralize it for the entire department and not
Yeah.
specific recreation
Yes.
centers, so that I can deploy trained lifeguards when needed to different centers, depending on what, you know, the need is. And that's gonna really be the goal, that we have internal staff to be able to do that. And then that will increase our program and increase the amount of kids that will have swim lessons, and being able to do that internally is gonna obviously help us grow.
So your Orca leaves here in January.
Mhm.
Is that our target date? So in January, we want to be able to start.
No,
implementing-
I literally, and this is like so new that, when did we have the conversation where I said to go get trained?
I think Saturday.
Yeah, like,
Okay.
like we were talking about this, like how we're gonna do this, and, you know,
You start
obviously.
training next week then?
Honestly, I
Well,
got back in the pool Saturday.
yeah, I'm obviously talking about it at one of the worst times, because we had like we have a budget
Yeah.
scare, and so I was like, how are we gonna figure this out,
It's
so.
not the worst time, it's the best time. Can I speak
Of
on
course.
this topic?
Yeah, Councilwoman, go ahead.
This is a tremendous resource, the Battistoni. It's the only indoors
Mhm.
pool. And you mentioned we should be running programs centrally through the whole city. But it's a tremendous resource, and it's a waste when we rent out the facility to someone who's making a profit on our facility. We're not making enough money, first of all, because we're not making enough money to help pay for regular maintenance that we never think about, but that always gets dumped into the city's budget. So when we build this swim program, which I'm a proponent for, and Mr. Chair, you are right on. There's a host of young families that are going to East Providence. They're going to Warwick and paying top dollar. They're going to Wise and they're having, there's not the programming that they should have. It's dismal out there, but it's our young people and we just need to build programs and we need to communicate what those programs are. And utilizing one lane, although there may be a need for somebody who wants to use a lane, that's a waste in my mind.
Oh, I hear you.
Because what we should be doing is building programming for age appropriate and on a website that people can go
Absolutely.
sign up
Yeah.
for. And you know, I love the fact, I have had conversations with you, Stephen. I love the fact that we're training JR on lifeguards and building that program internally. So we don't have someone just using our facilities. Because we can do so much more for so many kids and so many families. We don't have
And
to
not just kids,
charge a
Councilwoman,
lot,
either, senior citizens.
seniors,
I,
everybody.
we talk a lot about senior programming.
but
and
it's
they really
program.
will.
Yeah,
It's program.
yeah.
We need to have the capacity. We need to have the lifeguards. We need to have the training. We need to have programs. We need to be able to communicate them. And we can start small, but we have to start.
Correct.
And to me, it's a waste renting out our gym.
Yeah.
So if,
So one of the things we found.
can I just
Councilwoman-
finish
Yeah,
there
sure.
by saying, if that group that is renting this facility isn't done in January, I want them done in January. And I was really, you got me excited when you said, will we be ready? We should be ready.
Yeah.
We have enough resources to start to build a program. I see that you're working on the website. We've got all the tools we need to start to just do it. And even if it's if it's a, small, program for our youth, 1 or 2 programs for adult swim and, limited for seniors, whatever we have that we can pull together, we just got to kick it off and
Yeah.
do it.
And what we
And that's
found,
where I'm at.
Councilwoman, that's, and we're gonna talk about this a little later on too, is that can't pull these massive programs, we start incrementally. We've been doing that with soccer. And that's
Yes,
been kind of our sweet spot, and Director Grace has done a great job with that, and so I think this is definitely one of those programs that we should start incrementally. 1 or 2 classes, open swims, senior time, whatever it is, I'll leave it up to you guys to design it, but certainly, we don't want a downtime when this Orchid group leaves and what programming is available to residents of the city, so I think that's probably a good target date that we should shoot for, is the January timeframe.
and I would like to be involved in the programming here for Battistini.
What percentage of the swim time is recreational swim and how much is instructional now?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Recreation versus instructional swim
Are you
time
talking about
currently?
like ortho instructional?
No,
or, bus
in-house,
instructional?
in-house.
So lifeguard instruction doesn't start till, well, it used to not start until March. I think we're gonna push it up to, did we settle on February or?
As soon as we have someone that's
Yeah,
licensed to train lifeguards, we will be starting.
yeah.
And that's really the goal. So as soon as that happens, and as soon
Yeah.
as we have someone licensed, we're doing that. And then the other thing is, how many lifeguards do you have on staff right now?
Currently 3, and then I have 4 that are trained swim instructors.
So it's all free swim currently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So we do swim lessons, but it's not like yet out to the public. Like I'm trying to get my swim
Yeah.
instructors trained to the point where they're confident on their own.
we have to have the infrastructure
Yeah.
built up first, and then I think that one, but I think January is a very
Yeah.
good target date, and we should really start.
Yeah, and as the director, I just gotta be honest with everyone, like, I understand. It's a great resource, but it's also a huge liability, right? And so we have to be prepared to make sure that we're
Yep.
doing this the right way, because, it's gonna be on us to make sure that everyone's safe and that we have the right qualified individuals to make sure that everyone can do this fun, utilize and do it safe. So we just want to make sure we do it the right way.
Yeah.
So that's where I want to have somebody in-house that can really run the program through and then build it out through Battistini,
Yeah.
because we should be rotating centers. You already had the idea. rotating centers coming through, like there should be a Vincent Brown Day and, you know, or hours and everyone can build their
Yeah, but I
team up.
think, Director, you know this, we talk about this a lot too. I don't want to get caught up in just our recreation centers are extremely important and the membership at our recreation centers are extremely important. One of the things that we talk about a lot too is the general public, like bring people in who may not even necessarily be in our rec centers. And so there's the piece of like making sure that like we have time for the kids who are in the rec centers to come. But then just expanding the word out and make sure we're with the general public that may not go into our rec centers every day, but still deserve to use our recreation facilities as well. So it's kind of a combination of both. Councilwoman.
Perfectly stated. I love that you're an advocate, you're an ambassador for the different rec centers, but I don't see, other, rec center days. It should be every day for age group programming that is the best you can get in the city of Providence.
Yeah, and we could schedule it out the right way. It just takes the right
And
planning.
if there's room, then fine, but if you're moving kids from one rec center to another kids, or another rec center, there's busing involved, there's transportation, there's liability risks there. The idea is if you have the program, it's built well, it's well, needed, you've got it advertised well, people will come to you.
Yeah, I agree with that. And
And
just
if it's safe
before we
and
leave
well-
this topic, so we do have to move on, but I think it's something we will continue to keep an eye on. And I think again, the January, I'll just reiterate, I think most people on the board would agree that January is probably a good target date, right? That we want to see from the rec department.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'm clear on the hours, right? So when does it cross hands from school to recreation? Is it 3 o'clock on the weekends and then we have control
No,
of
3
it?
o'clock during the week.
I'm sorry, 3 o'clock on the weekdays, and then the weekends, we have full control of the center to be able to
Yes.
utilize it? Is that right,
The
Saturday and Sunday?
weekday, it's 3:15, but like we come in at 3.
Yeah.
It's just 3:15, they do dismissal, so I wouldn't want people to be in the building till 3:15. Because
Okay.
kids are still in gym class and they go from gym to the cafeteria.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Director Fargo or Director Grace on Battistini specifically, or swim, or anything that you want to talk about as it relates to, or any ideas?
No, I just wanna commend you, you go by John or JR or?
Family knows me as JR, everyone else John.
John.
Call him
so-
John, no, I'm just
so-
kidding.
We'll call you John. in this question. I just wanna commend you, man. I've had a
It's
couple of
weird
interactions with
names.
you and you're someone that is extremely valuable to the city and you truly care and.
It helps
I
when you
hope
love your job.
That's awesome, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Keep up the good work. Those numbers are impressive. I only expect that they will continue to grow.
I
Well,
expect it.
Councilwoman?
When they give you the classes, they give you the champion or give you something to the kids or into the.
That's a good
the
idea,
program?
actually. I never really thought of that, but yeah, I think a reward system for them, like after they compete. I just got a really good idea. I think we should put a whiteboard up in the lobby and have how many kids have learned how to swim at Battistini/Pleasant View School. And we'll be able to track that number and it'll be a nice little cute thing to have in the lobby. But yeah, I think rewarding them will help a lot.
Speaking of cute little thing in the lobby, we never put up a plaque for Ron and Battistini. That was something that was always, I've got the language for it, so I'm gonna be
Okay.
requesting that.
You wanna try and do a 10-year anniversary?
Yeah.
Next year,
Sounds good.
okay.
great. I'll leave it on this note, and now it's not indoor swimming. However, I had the pleasure of going to the recreation
meet,
center
yeah.
swim
Yeah.
meet
Yeah.
at the end of the summer. And next year you guys should all come to it because it was
A
really
lot of
fun.
fun.
Yeah, at Zucolo. Well, thank you again for everything you do. The place looks great. Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah.
For a while. Nice and new and shiny and smells like new paint. But obviously, I think some of the notes that I took, I'm just saying, I think the boys locker room, obviously, or the locker rooms in general need to be. Yeah, right, so there's still a big hole there, and then I think, that entrance is definitely a work in progress.
Oh, yeah. It still looks like back of school.
Thank you for all you do. We are here as a board to advocate for you guys, to get everything that you can to make you guys the best recreation department
I appreciate
that
it.
you can be, and
We're gonna be.
so, we're getting there incrementally.
They're trying to talk to the
Right.
council about the trip to New York, just in case.
Okay, so we'll move on unless anybody has anything else to know on that particular item. Item number 2, so I Um, I think that, you know, we came to a settlement, obviously, thank God. And, you know, things are. Yeah, I think in a better place, and I know that there's not a ton of details just yet on. What cuts are gonna be there, where there's a lot of talk between the school department and. The administration about sports programs being cut, about recreation potentially being cut, about police academies being cut, about. You know, RIPTA busing being taken away from our students. None of it a very healthy conversation for a lot of reasons, and I think that nobody likes to see. The infighting amongst the city, particularly when it's mandated by the courts. With that said, you know, I think there's an agreement that came into place. The administration in the city will be increasing its monetary, the monetary funds that are going to the school department by court order. The mayor has said on the record that that will stave off any cuts to recreation and to the things that they were talking about in the city. The money is going to be made up through a combination of ARPA dollars, some energy savings were a piece of it. And so I want to, we can have a discussion about this, but I really want to remain vigilant about this. I think for this fiscal year, everything is okay. We don't know what the budget's gonna look like for next year. It's gonna be a bigger dollar amount that's gonna need to go to the schools. And certainly, you know, we as a board need to be cognizant of that. My biggest priority is protecting the work that's being done in this department. We have a lot of non-union employees who are employed by the rec department, and so it's like one of those areas that could be very easy to, you know, to target if we need to make budget cuts. And I think we've made a lot of incremental progress here. I think we just need to keep an eye on it. You know, evident from this conversation here today, I mean, obviously, these rec centers do a ton of work in the community for after-school programs. You know, we're serving hundreds of kids just out of this recreation center alone every day that come for homework help, you know, after-school activities. This is, I view the recreation department as one of the legs of a successful school turnaround plan. Our kids need a place to go after school, they need a place to, you know, to go to, parents need a place while they're at work for their children to go and know that they're in good hands, make sure homework is getting done, making sure they give them good physical activity, all the things that we know exist. And so I didn't want this meeting to go by without at least touching on it, because it's obviously very important. I think we got to keep an eye on it. We still don't know exactly what's going to happen in this fiscal year, other than what's been said on the record. And I spoke to the mayor, you know, personally about it. And he did mention that there won't be any budget cuts to recreation in this fiscal year. There's going to be some conversations with the General Assembly about potentially raising the tax levy. And a lot of other, I think, very difficult conversations coming down the pike about how that money is going to be made up in the future. And so, again, we don't know what the next fiscal year is going to look like, but I think we as a board need to keep this conversation going for the next couple of months as the budget starts to be prepared and we figure out more and more sort of what that looks like.
Yeah, just to add on that, Chairman, if I can.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the last thing you said is extremely important. I think maybe the only thing that's still kind of pending, and you mentioned it, is there is a hiring freeze that's kind of citywide. There's gonna be, you know, some exceptions. So I think that's something that the director will keep working with the administration to hopefully minimize those, if not eliminate them all completely, in terms of those hitting the rec department, especially like you mentioned, the non-union and seasonal staff is just as important as the rest of the staff.
Yep.
But yeah, I think we need to start you know, being a cheerleading squad for the rec department the next few months while budget conversations to make sure and ensure that the rec department isn't impacted or very minimally impacted in next year's budget. It's kind of what I'll leave it at.
Yeah, I give the mayor a lot of credit for pulling together the resources to make it happen without having to do those cuts. We just need to make sure we keep an eye out.
Did you want me to talk about it at all, or we good?
Yes,
Oh.
please feel free.
I don't. Not to, so it was interesting when this agenda came out. We still hadn't had an answer as to what the settlement was going to be. And so as other directors in the city, you start looking at, unfortunately, like places where you would need to cut, you know, to help out with the settlement. So these were the major areas that like we would look at. So just to give you an idea of what I would be going through, or the exercise that I had to go through. So I had to look at temporary staff. And so that would be like the easiest way to kind of tackle it initially. And then meals program operations, not the meals in general, but like the people that support it, and come up with another way for the meals to be able to get to the centers. The usage and the rental of recreation centers. That's the only decision I did make when we heard about essential spending. Not having an answer, I did pause any new rentals. So people that were requesting space, I didn't want there to be a situation where they didn't have potentially a place to actually rent, right? So we paused that, but today I sent out the email that we can resume. Athletic programming, it's not that we would cancel it, but it would look a lot different. We had to come up with multiple plans. For example, like the upcoming basketball season, we play in every single rec center, limiting that to maybe 2 or 3 to save on transportation and the amount of referees that we pay throughout the city. That's also like a line item in our budget. So we look at that. Recreation programming in general, like what's essential versus things that we could potentially do without. Rec center hours, you know, that would be something that we look at to shorten the hours to save on temporary staff and permanent staff. And then, as the chair mentioned, non-union staff in general, that's always low hanging fruit at a time like this, and how we preserve that, or will we have to make decisions about how we move the non-union staff around to help out with this. So luckily, as the chair mentioned, we didn't have to put any of these into play, but the way budgets work, we are going to be tight. Like I don't see a place where we get more money, right? I'm just not going to anticipate that that's going to happen. But the way we do our budgets, you're doing for you know, you're planning your budget for FY26, but it also is the forecast for 27 as well. And you got to think about both years to be able to. So what's tough about this process is, you know, if you figure out a way with your budget cuts to still operate, that's bad for you too, right? So it's a tough thing to have to go through, because you have to figure out like what the best way to move forward is. And if someone figures out that like, hey, you know, you did this to half the staff, so so you know, why do you need more? And sometimes it's tough to like, you can only bring the qualitative data to that, and like the stories and the impact. And sometimes it's hard to show that with data, you know, like why having more staff is important, and not just a ratio, right? So that's the exercise that we went through to kind of, you know, get ready for this.
Sometimes you lose good people, right? I think it's not about
Yeah.
doing more or less, just doing it with the right people that have connection with these kids, so.
I just have 2 points on that, Chairman.
Absolutely.
How many of your staff is union
4,
out of the whole department?
4.
4, right?
Yeah.
And then regarding your last point, I think this is like a rhetoric that like we all need to do like a better job on. Is like no matter like what the city is going through, like we as a city is going to be doing much better if departments like the rec department are always increasing the funding. Like no matter how the city, obviously, you know, a lot easier said than done, but like that's like the sentiment that we got to get out there in the community is like recreation
Say it.
department should always be getting an
I will
increase.
not argue with you.
It's the future of the city.
Well, listen, I mean, we all have our, you know, our conversations, our relationships. That's one of the major functions of this board, is to advocate for more resources, expansion of programming, and I think we can all agree that that is something we'll always do. All right. Well, I first of all, I just want to say thank you, Director, because I know that there was a lot of I think people were on edge in the department, right? I mean, people didn't know if they were going to show up and have a job a week from now. And so it's not an easy thing to be thinking about, especially as we go into the holiday season. And so, you know, please, on behalf of the board, tell your staff and everybody that your dedicated people who are involved, that we appreciate them. And it wasn't an easy position for anybody to be in. So thank you to you and your staff for that. Councilwoman?
I just wanted to follow up on my colleague and the topic of more money. I think what we all need to do when asked, when times are tough, when budgets are tough, the easy thing is to say, cut staff, but you cut the hard art of the programs, which the other commissioner articulated quite well. That's a bad move. I think what we need to look for is efficiency in our operation so that we don't have to ask for more money. What we should be doing is looking at the programming we have, other resources, less costly ways of being more effective, touching more people, because the more folks that we touch and help is the reason we're in business in the first place. So it's not just, we need more money. We need to operate efficiently, and that's what we need to seek. That's what we need to be ambassadors for, and that's what we need to be good shepherds of. We talked about the programming on the swim. I think that's a tremendous opportunity for us. The value of renting our facility here, the wear and tear on the maintenance is lost to me. It's a lost opportunity. It would be exciting to be able to develop programming here, and not just for other rec centers, but for the city as a whole. People will come here. People will pay for programming. If families can't afford it, then that's when we offer free programming based on need. But we have to stop just giving everything away and asking the taxpayers for more money. We have to show that we're being effective. We have results. John talked about how many people we taught, to get their certification or whatever. That's value to the community. We need to show that, and that's
Yeah.
the communication.
Yeah, and I
charge.
give Director Grace a lot of credit on that, because prior to when we started meeting as a group and before Director Grace, there was really no data around anything. And so
I
Director
agree.
Grace has really brought in a data-driven approach to who comes into the centers, what the numbers are, what they look like. And so we're grateful for that. And those help us make the case on all of this. It helps us to find efficiency and helps us to really build out these programs in a way that, don't necessarily always cost more money, but, we'll always be advocates, obviously, to continue to expand programs.
The key is not to have these things just survive, it's really to thrive, right?
Yes.
So and I think that's the critical point there. We see these programs, we can do with less people, but yeah, you can survive operationally, but is it driving?
Yeah, and I will say, some of you guys, I wrote an op-ed to the Boston Globe about some of this. It is particularly frustrating, on the school department side of things, which are chronically underperforming. Goes to your point, I think, Councilwoman, asking for more money for, I don't want to say the sake of asking for more money is not the right way to put it, but without having a plan present on how we're going to turn around our schools, how we're going to find efficiencies, accountability for how this money's going to be spent. I mean, Director, what would you do with $1 million? Somebody said, we're increasing your budget by $1 million this year. What could you do with it?
Man, I mean, the first thing I focus on is like infrastructure, things that can last beyond, 2 to 3 years. I think that's where we got into a place where we had a lot of COVID relief funding tied to expiring resources or contracts. And so I would spend it on infrastructure and things that we could potentially use for programming and for resources further down the line. So making sure that our facilities are intact, making sure that we're fixing or maybe putting HVAC and
But you come up with a plan to
Yeah,
spend
yeah,
the
like I
money,
already have,
and then
yeah.
we would have to really review it and vet it. And one of the troubling things to me about this whole conversation is, do our kids deserve, obviously, the best education we could possibly give them? Of course they do. What's the plan to get there, and how is the money going to be spent? Because if we're taking away money from other departments like recreation, like our police department, like other departments to do that, I think that we as a community could get behind that if there was a plan in place, and if they said, here's what we're going to be doing with this to help turn our schools around. And so that was one of the points that I made. But the thing that would bother me the most is if some of these cuts had to be made in order to go to a school system that is not presenting us as a community, as a city, with the information of what they're going to be doing with it. Because that's just, and with the recreation department in particular, we are an auxiliary to the schools in so many ways. And so we have to remain vigilant on this. The conversation has not ended. It's really kind of just beginning, I would say. And luckily, I think we're okay for this fiscal year, but I think to your point, Councilwoman, so all the points that the people have made, we're gonna have to really find efficiencies, yes. But we're also talking about a department that's been under-resourced for a really long time, and so we have to figure out ways to keep on doing the work that we're doing. Some of it is incremental, and it's not gonna happen overnight, but anyway, so something we'll continue to keep an eye on. Anybody else have anything else they want to add to the discussion? Yes, Councilwoman.
It's not a discussion, it's like people always ask for money. I ask for money too, for my house, for doing too many things. So for me, recreation is the eye for the community. When the people need it. For example, the kids that can be outside, can doing something productive, for example, the swimming. So we have the only one, we can have it more. Because I have a pool, but I don't have the cover, so we can get the money for some reason. Okay, this is the construction I want to do it. Extended the pool that we have in here, and we can give it classes for that community. So we always say, oh, we need more money. We need more money. So we give it more money, and the money disappears. And we start the program. Oh, nobody show up. Oh, nobody, because there's no have the information. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He's not best player of the world because we only have one pool and one, around so many people for the whole city because we don't have the resort or the money.
Yeah.
So we are the eyes to the people who don't have money to come here to give you maybe a snack, cannot have at home sometimes. Sometimes the kids say, hey, stay here and still can go back because, for example, I have 2 or 3 years to survive. So the mother use the recreation to get a, little point, a little help.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I will say, and we've all seen this as we've traveled around from rec center to rec center. These rec center directors, Councilwoman Ryan, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
joining us
being
today,
here.
And thank you for your support of this rec center.
Yeah.
These rec center directors know how to make a dollar stretch. I mean, I look at most of these centers and they're working with limited staff. They're working all kinds of hours. They know how to make a dollar stretch. And I don't see a lot of waste in this department, but
No.
Anybody else have anything to add on that point? Okay, so and we will talk about communications as on the next agenda item number 4, but we'll go to number 3, which is we are in the just about to be in the thick of basketball season. We have the Youth Development Basketball League, which has gone off. I know Jenna had mentioned to me that the word had gone out to her, so she's seen some word out there to her school that her daughter goes to. So, Director, give us an update on basketball, the plans for I know that the developmental league right now is 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then our older boys start in January. So give us your presentation and update on basketball.
All right, so I'll start with the Youth Developmental League. We actually made some changes. It was called the Biddy League in the past. So we wanted to focus more on the developmental skills, drills, and making sure that kids were learning the game while having fun. So what we did was we moved it to the West End Recreation Center so that we could have 2 simultaneous courts, as well as not focus on the competition, but focus on that skill development. And we created a pool and we created teams within the league as opposed to individual recreation centers. And we utilized staff and volunteers to be able to run that league. And I got to be honest with you, like I was there last week. The gym is packed, like ton of parents. They were very thankful to have parking, even though it's a little complicated in that parking lot sometimes. The bigger gym seating, and they do a great job of hosting there. But what I really loved is that we added 2 practices, one at Kennedy and one at West End during the week to help the kids get ready for the Saturday games. And so that's been really great. And we've gotten a lot of compliments from that and parents that just wanted to be involved and they're showing up every week. So the staff did a great job with that, where we just slight tweak. And to your point, it's more efficient. We have more kids playing in it. We have more control over their development, and we did that all online, and so we can keep that registration and continue to communicate with them. So we had in the 6 and under 64 kids and 8 and under 56. We allow kids to join. More wanted to because they found out a little bit late, so we had to stop. But we actually had a wait list of 90, like up to 90 for the 6 and under, and the 8 and under it went to like 85. We just couldn't because we had to order stuff, and so we had to make sure that we were good. But next year it means we can grow, right? And so we can do a lot better job there. For basketball, the reason that we started the youth development league, we typically do that at the same time as our youth basketball league. We started early so that we can make sure that we could focus more on our actual basketball league, and we timed it perfectly for the youth development league, where football ended. We literally started the next day. So if they were in Pop Warner or doing something with flag football, they could come into the youth development league. And I took it off of the directors to recruit their team for that, so they could start focusing on the actual basketball league earlier, so we can get more kids involved. Last year, we had about 60% capacity for various reasons. Didn't believe that was what we were capable of. And so we started early this year, where running skills and drills, registration, tryouts, just getting kids to come in and talk about being in the basketball league a lot earlier. So that's where you saw the early basketball workouts and tryouts. And we started to get an understanding of where we are a lot earlier. So it's November, and I already know what our number is, where this wasn't happening until about 2 weeks before the league started last year. So we did a better job of kind of keeping track of that. And while it's still estimates, I can kind of show you the estimate right now from what we collected from directors. What they have committed is 400 kids right now, and we still have some way to go. So we kind of just do a progress report for them. And so right now, what you're looking at is all the centers and all the age groups that we have. And so last year we did struggle with girls as well, and getting girls involved, but this is way better than we were last year at this point. I didn't even know where we were last year at this point. So the check marks means that we have enough kids to have a team. And obviously where you don't see where you see a question mark, Kennedy hasn't reported yet. But he has enough. Yeah, I actually know, but I couldn't. If he didn't respond, I wasn't going to put it up there and put false numbers. But Kennedy's going to be good. He actually said to us that he's going to have all the girls as well.
So question mark is no, or up in the air?
Question mark, they're kind of waiting on some more commitments. So we just kind of do our question mark. If it's not there, we didn't hear back. If it's a question mark, they're kind of on the fence about if they have enough to qualify for the team. The check mark means that they have enough kids right now.
And to confirm, you have to live in Providence.
Yes.
To play the league.
Yep.
Or go to school in Providence? Is there?
Live in Providence.
Live in Providence.
Yes. Yep. So this is actually great, but we're not stopping here. One of the things that we're going to be doing is, and this kind of leads into the next topic about what are we doing with our website, online registration and communications. So what we're going to be doing for the basketball league is we're going to have a universal registration and a pool. So if you did not hear about the league, if you just decided that you wanted to play in the league, if the center that you went to is full and you want to still play, we're going to have 2 in-person events, and we're going to have online registration open to be able to place you on a team once we figure out what the numbers are. And it's going to be specifically based on the numbers that we need. So we'll be able to tell a parent we have a need for 10 and under at Battistini, right? Or we have a need for girls 12 under at Igliozzi, and we'll be able to cater it to that. So we can put the online registration, then we can fill teams, because we're not going to turn anyone away. So
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty cool. So it's the first time we've done this. And like I said, we're going to have the dates. We're still working on them. But I believe one is going to be as early as December 4th. And then one is going to be at the Youth Basketball League at West End on December 7th. That one I know about. I'm still working on the one either before or after that. But definitely December 7th at West End is going to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
And for the online registry, so are you proposing like December 1st through December?
We're gonna open it as soon as, we had like the turkey drives and stuff, so
Yeah.
my athletic coordinator is just going to make sure that it makes sense, it gets the numbers back. So we can see how many open slots that we're anticipating that we have. Once she goes through, it should be up as early as tomorrow.
Okay, and we're gonna have like a set period of time to register, like
Yeah.
December 1st to December.
Yeah.
30th, or you have.
We
30
can
days,
actually
or-
probably go to like, depending on the holidays, probably January 5th.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then you guys will make some flyers that like neighborhood groups can send out. like,
Yeah, we have,
online registration is open for Providence.
Yeah, we have our media
Basketball.
content manager. He created a flyer today. We're just waiting for the registration to actually be open. Then it's gonna go to all the schools. It's gonna go to the newsletters. It's gonna go to community organizations. It's gonna go on Instagram, Facebook. Our website will have the mayor push it out, so it'll be a lot. I'll send it to you guys
Great.
as well. So we should be able to get that out there.
So are we prepared for overcapacity or what?
Well, I'm gonna under promise and over deliver, so he said it, not me, but we're looking at a great, I'm anticipating a much better turnout than last year.
What's overcapacity?
Well, we can't really go over that.
I mean, I'm not.
But what number is that?
But I-
Like, so you said 400 right now, like
Yes, so,
what would be like
each
100?
team that you see here, we can, have, 15 per team. So you're looking at 15 for 10 under, 11 or 12, 13, 14, 10.
66 times 15,
Yeah.
yeah.
But again, we're not turning kids away,
Over
so I
that.
know like Kennedy, for example, had 2 teams last year. How are we proposing? Let's just say 800 kids. sign up.
Okay, so let me say it in a better way. I can have 15 per team. So if I do not have 15 per team, we're not gonna say, oh, just because this center is filled, you can't go and play in another center. But if we fill every single team with 15 people, I
Yeah.
can't do over that. We just don't have the capacity to be able to do it.
Okay.
And it's
So-
900 kids.
Yeah.
1,000 kids, so.
Get a little bit of time.
You have a little room.
I can't,
Yeah.
like, it actually goes down to logistics too. It's not just like we don't want to do it. It's like, it's transportation. It's like a lot of things that we have to
Yeah.
look into, uniforms, right?
Yeah,
'Cause I can't buy new uniforms. That's an essential spend too. Dude. Like,
well, except for this goes to fundraising, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's something that, again, I've had a couple of meetings with people, and I think we should all be very vigilant on that. I will go ask any small business to step up and donate $250 or $500, whatever it is. And I think people want to be asked to do that. So if we get into that situation where it's that type of, and the other piece that I think is we need to rely more on volunteers if we get to that situation too.
Yeah,
You know, volunteer coaching, volunteer carpools, things like that, that we can start to organize. It's a quality problem to have, and I hope we
Yeah.
get there.
It
Which
sounds
is-
like it could be like a certain age group with maybe a boys team where maybe could you field a second team at a gym? Like, has there ever been more than 15 where you maybe need to break it up?
We did it at Kennedy last year. There were 2 10U teams.
we were able to do that and like, but it happened because we didn't have,
The ability to move.
right, like we had empty positions, so putting 2 at Kennedy was easy because like we didn't fill every other slot in the city.
Yeah.
So like we could do that, but if we're at capacity, I just haven't seen it been like over 15 or creating a new team. I'm not saying that we can't do it. I wanna have that problem before I think about how we're gonna
Yeah.
solve it.
Quality
I just haven't
problem.
been there yet, so.
What historically, do we know what the most kids we've ever had signed up for basketball?
I don't know that, but from what I've been told, I don't know the exact number, but from what I've been told, like, before COVID, like all the teams were filled. So I think, from listening to the directors and talking to, volunteer coaches and people that have done this, they always say that it was, like it was always packed, like we always had players, we always had, teams.
Right.
That's what I was told, but like, we
and all
gotta
this
see it
stuff,
too.
And we keep on talking about this, obviously communication is key, and
Mhm.
so the things I would like to see, I think, on a flyer for the open registration is like specific dates, so from December 1st to January 7th, whatever it is registration. Here's how you do it. Like just very specific information, that way it can be blasted out to
Yeah.
people. And then I know to lead to our next piece that we want to talk about, which is the website, online registration and whatnot. But before we move on to that, does anybody have any additional thoughts on basketball or things that we should be looking at or recommendations for Director Grace going into the season? No. All right, so we'll move on to the next updates about communications, website, online registration.
All right, cool. So, what we've been focusing on is making sure, like the chairman said, you know, making sure that people know about the programming, that we're having. In order to do that, we had to create the infrastructure to be able to handle online registration, to be able to handle, you know, the emails, the entries that come in, et cetera. So, one of the first updates, like, how do you know about programming? And the chairman and I had many discussions about like, hey, can you just go on the website and like look at a program, be able to search it? So one of the updates that we have, hopefully this will work. Let's see. All right, so we go to our programming.
Director, can you go to the recreation department's homepage first?
Okay.
Which I think is miles better than what it was when we
Mhm.
first started having this conversation. Great, yeah. Can you walk us through this
Yeah.
first? Okay,
All right, so it'll touch everything. So, the first thing I just want to mention is that one of the first reasons that we had to redo our website is so that it was accessible to everybody, and in multiple languages. So the first thing you'll notice on the bottom here is that you can translate it into our top 7 languages, so don't do that automatically. So that's pretty cool, and that's why we wanted to be on this type of website and our host. So our categories that we have is our programs, our calendar, membership. You can donate to us, any news that we have. We're still working on that and kind of getting like a newsletter up and running. Events, that's not just like events that are in the city, but like how you book an event with us, and then the facilities in general. So if we go into the programs, what we did and we updated it is like now you can actually just like search for a program. So if you want to search by gender, by age, by grade, right, or the date, you can go ahead and do that, or the type. So if you want to look at anything with aquatics, adult and senior activities, special events, youth activities, youth leagues, it'll bring you to like all of our youth leagues, right? And you can go by the center. So you can just kind of go in and see what you want at any time. Before, it was like a lot more difficult to be able to do that. We're still playing around with this and making sure that it's working properly. So if you go in and see anything, we have it up there so people can be like, hey, I was there and I couldn't do this. So sometimes I can't like, know everything, but if you see anything that or notice anything, we can, most times do some quick fixes. So this just wasn't available before. So you can look all of our programs, and what this took is a huge push to get our directors to be able to put all of their information into a program. Then we had to write a code so that it automatically goes to our website so that this is live and so that you can interact with it. And then if you click on something, it actually like gives you the information on it, and then you can click here and register and get more info. So you would go in and you'd be able to register here and you click here. Trying to work on that and see if there's a better way so it doesn't redirect you. It's hard to kind of do that because we do have our rec desk platform, and we are trying to see if it's a platform that we're going to keep long term. We were not using it to its full capability.
Can I just interrupt 1 second?
Yeah.
So the last time we talked about this was probably about around a year ago. It was one of the first things I think that we talked about. And at the time, we had talked about giving it more time, seeing what the capabilities are. And I think that's kind of where we are now.
Yeah.
You've had a year to kind of work with
Yeah.
it and see where.
Well, during that year, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I have some experience with like small scale like implementations. And we were being told that the program rec desk couldn't do what you're seeing it do now. Like it couldn't communicate through an API to a website. And it was like 1,000 no's before finally somebody was like, oh yeah, we can do that. I wish you would call me first. It was just like one of those things. And I had to be like, told you, right, to like everyone like in the city and on my staff, but like, so that solved the first issue, right? Because we have all these programs in one system, we want to communicate with the other one. And the other one was very hard to get to. So now this is easier to get to. It's all in one place. You can see all of our programs. What that looks like, and the thing that we would go to next is like, you can actually see a calendar of anything that's going on in recreation on any particular day. So there is like a way to expand this, where you can just kind of scroll through at the times and it goes by time. And you can see anything that's going on, and if you click on anything, it'll give you some information about what it is. So that's just like if you want to see a calendar and just be able to interact and just, hey, I'm curious about what's going on. But the program side is like you go in there if you want to actually sign up for a program. That leads us to our membership. So this brings you to Rec Desk because we manage our members through Rec Desk. And you can enroll and be a member, but the membership is actually happening at the recreation centers. What we're trying to do is convert anyone that comes in into a member, where they get a membership card, and they're actually in our system. Quick story about that. We obviously have, you know, hundreds of kids come through our recreation centers every day. I had one center have an incident with with one of its members and was receiving conflicting information. They were able to go into our system, and because that kid was a member, they saw where they signed up. They immediately called that director and were able to rectify the situation because there was notes in the system about the exact same incident. We weren't able to do that last year, right? To be able to communicate that way and actually have an online database. And we're gonna, so we focused on the kids first. We started this in the summer, and now we're focusing on like adults, and then we're gonna do seniors as well.
And Director, are you finding that that everybody is adopting the online registration now, or is it still the culture of like come into the rec center and sign up, or like what's some doing it better than others probably, but what's what do you?
I would probably say this, I still have to do both. I still have to offer multiple ways to sign up. And until it's like the norm, I'm gonna offer them, you know, in person.
Oh, I'm not saying that you should, I'm asking like, you know, are the rec center directors adopting?
Oh, the
online
directors?
method?
Oh, the directors
they
are, yeah, the
encouraging
directors
people
are.
To do
Yeah.
that and get.
Yeah, the
everybody
directors
in
are,
the
we're good there. I thought you were referencing like the public and their adaptation.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the implementation on your staff level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's been fantastic. Like you heard the director here talking about like how he loves Rec Desk and like he's like glad that we're using it. It helps keep you organized, and we're not even we used to, I don't know if you guys knew this, but we used to take attendance by paper. And we're not doing that anymore. They're taking attendance in Rec Desk. And so we just have to run a report. So now that goes into our dashboard and we can pull any information. Into your question, for example, what happened on that day, we're tracking that too. So we'll be able to know what happened on a day, like, oh, why'd you spike up? Or why were you so low, right? We can kind of see those things, and we're pulling that data now. So that's actually going to help us out. Where it's going to go into, and I think you also had this question, like, you know, are our programs thriving? Well, that's going to go into it too. Like, what's it good of having a like this type of group every day if no one's showing up, right? You got 10 kids in your rec and you keep having this program on the same day. So that's what we're challenging our directors with as well. So we're going to have that data.
Yeah, I went to the Elmwood Community Center meeting last week or
Yeah.
before. And at the sign-in was 2 iPads, very convenient. Get your information, sign in right there, everything's done.
So this is our newsletter. Our last thing was on the Youth Development Basketball League, so that's here. But we're working on this to see like what's the best way we should do it. Should we be sending it out? There's rules to it, so we're trying to make sure that we're following the rules, because you're not supposed to get spammed by us unless you opt in. So we're working on that, which is kind of cool because it'll lead us into this next portion, which I gotta go to the home page. So you can scroll down here. We have how do you become a volunteer? So you can actually go on our website and you can go in and you can register. What's really cool about it is we're gonna put anything that's like new that we have. So this will be updated pretty soon because it'll be more basketball league focused once we drop that universal registration. But you can kind of, you know, you can register for the Youth Development League, Winter Recreation Basketball League, but then it goes into like what's good for you. So, you know, what season are you most available, right? What days, you know, and time of days that you are available. But what this does is it goes to us automatically, and then you get sent to BCI so that you're already ready to work with recreation. And here's where at the end, you can kind of opt into our newsletter too. So we put that in there. So to kind of stay in touch with us. But we've been getting some people that are in there and we're contacting them and making sure that we can utilize this. So our recreation center directors are aware of this and they're sending it out to folks as well. And that just takes something off their plate too. You know, if they're looking to get somebody, they can just text them the link, have somebody sign up, and then we're good to go.
So once a volunteer signs up and comes in, what's the process to follow up with the volunteer?
So it goes to us automatically and we see that we have a database and we'll look at like when and how you want to volunteer. But you get contacted and thank you like right away. Or you should, that should actually come in. Depending on what the program is that you'd like to do, we'd actually have the director of the center reach out to you. And say, hey, by the way, Tuesday evenings, I have this type of program. You said you were interested in this. I have, some space to volunteer. Oh, you want to coach basketball? Oh, you want to, do this. You just want to help out in some other way. That's what that form is for. So if you get we need to build a database of just volunteers that are always willing to help out because, I'd probably volunteer more if I was asked, you know what I mean? But we're all busy and I don't think anyone's just out there, on a website, like, oh, where can I volunteer today, right? Like, we gotta ask, and so that's what this is about, and so we can start building that database.
That volunteer check the record.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, we do a BCI, so anyone that volunteers in recreation, we do a BCI, and that's why we're building that database, because we'll know these people have already passed and we can work with them. And then how are we communicating, with the public more? Last year, we talked about social media, and so hopefully everybody follows us on Facebook and Instagram. We're gonna be driving more traffic to our website. We actually have a hidden page on our website, so it's not available yet, but I'm gonna show you this. You're gonna laugh how quick we did this, but because what you're looking at is like our community engagement page. So this is gonna be where we communicate with folks. And as the chairman said, seeing the iPads, having people register, right? Getting ready to go in and actually work with us and help us and give us information about the programs and the types of events and help that they need in the community. So that's Ceci Granado. She's the director of the Elmwood Community Center, which will be coming online at some point. We've talked about the CPF grant, what that's going to do with the resilience hubs. We talked about that in prior meetings. But what we're doing is we're really getting to the community to get that individual input about what types of programming that they want to see. So this particular engagement here was about education, health, and workforce development. And so we are building a brand with this as well. So like as a recreation department, you're going to start seeing with some of our material that goes out, you're going to start seeing these different icons that kind of let you know like what we're doing. And when you see these, like what type of engagement and partnership we're looking to build in the community. And so these are actually going to go on our new membership cards as well. So like these are the services that we offer, not just like obviously athletics. And we're really looking to make an effort to do that. And when we're signing people up, it's not just going to be for sports or for a league, it's going to be for opportunities like this as well. And we really have to do a good job of making sure we hear from the public on that. So this is really exciting to be able to do this and kind of get this going. So this will be going up probably like in a week or two. And then you can get to the volunteer form here too. And these will all be live. Like how do you get involved? You can be a volunteer, intern, right? You can donate, rent a space, you can become a member, and then contact us if you need any more information. But we're really building out all of these, and we're gonna have a pretty cool like internship program and focusing on that workforce development. And what you guys don't know is, because we've been talking about Providence Public Schools, you guys all know I used to work there. I'm not clairvoyant, but like I'm good at anticipation and I can kind of see writing on the wall. I knew they were gonna run money. Like it's just so I actually built a plan here to be able to help with programs that they might not be able to offer. And so that's where you're seeing a lot of this come from. Because if they're not able to do it, it has to come from somewhere. And I think that's why we're kind of discussing why the Department of Recreation is kind of important. And so we should always like, have some funding, right, to be able to do that. But that's, kind of where we are with it now. So it's a lot and since the last time we spoke, but like we've come a long way with developing the website and how we're going to engage with folks. And it's not actually stopping there. So like we realized too that like as a as a client-facing department, right? So we are interact with people every day. We have to work on our community engagement, how we present ourselves. So like, what we've done is we actually been doing a good job of kind of making sure that people know what we're doing. If you want to take one and pass it down.
Yeah, we sent this
Yeah.
last time.
Right, but kind of working on some of the stuff that like we're doing so that you guys can interact with us. Should have, done this before, but
Director Grace?
oh, that's beautiful.
Ready?
You guys can keep these, by the way.
Where'd you get
So,
that from?
He gave us a sticker.
Oh, it's a
Yeah,
sticker.
I
Okay.
know.
yeah. So each of you can, if you can catch Dr. Paul, there we go.
Here you go.
All right, because
The swag that you're wearing, you were gonna look that on your website, right?
so yeah, that is actually gonna be happening soon. We're working on the POS system for it.
Awesome.
So we had to figure out a POS system that didn't like make like register just to give us money. Because that's what was happening before. We were using a like almost like a permitting software in our first attempt. And that's what happened with our golf tournament. It's more than likely that we're gonna go with something like Square or but we're just waiting to make sure because there's a lot of departments I have to go through for that, but that'll more than likely happen where we're gonna be able to use Square, and then that's when the merchandise store will go up.
Awesome.
So that we can accept paying and more stuff too. But the reason I'm handing this to you is that this actually goes into our community engagement kit. So as a client-facing department, we realize that other departments may not have the ability to kind of do what we're doing. And so one thing that you're not seeing here is you're not seeing the iPads and the Chromebooks that we purchased, as well as like multiple TVs like this. So that if you are looking to engage with the community as well, on behalf of our department, or you want to be able to share something, like we can give you the tools to do it. So what you saw in that video, when you saw the iPads, like those are publicly accessible. So if you want to have a meeting and you're passionate about something, you can contact us and you can have a meeting like this and get all this set up. And be able to have a professional meeting, and we'll hopefully be able to provide the space for you as well.
All right, Director, I'm gonna, it's getting late, and so I don't wanna keep up. Anybody have questions for Director Grace? Well, great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's come a long, long way, so well done. The other thing I will
Thank you for
mention.
the gift.
Is on this and on the online registration.
Yep.
I know we're not charging to join a league now but.
No.
I do think that there is still people who are willing to make a donation once they sign their child up. And so as we go through the online registration process, it would be good to have some sort of window at the end that says the city of Providence provides these leagues for free. Would you like to make a donation at this time to support your child or something like that?
Once we get into our POS capabilities, we'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like, I'm just waiting to do it because I don't want to, I've already done some of these things like 4 times.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of waiting.
Yeah, it's always gonna be a work
yeah.
in progress, and I will say, Director Grace and I have talked about this, and I think one of the things that. Yeah, this is one of those outward facing departments in the city that really needs, basically somebody who's almost like full-time working on this stuff, and whether it's a consultant, or whether it's somebody in-house, from a budget perspective, I think as we start talking about the budget more and more, I think that's one of those areas where the director of the department is really gonna need some support, and I think that's one of those areas I want to advocate for, it's a more public facing. Whether it's a consultant who's able to go in and rather than working through the city's IT system, IT department, which is small and mighty, but oftentimes things get caught in the red tape and don't. We're not able to get things up as quickly as we'd like them to, and I think that's one of the areas that we can advocate for support for the department.
Yeah, definitely want to just jump on that last topic of giving the director a lot of credit when it comes to trying to cut through that red tape. I hear from other departments that, he's reaching out and directly and having conversations and trying to find solutions.
So well done, Director. This is a topic we continue to touch on from time to time. And what I'll say is as you guys, I would encourage everybody here to go through the website and just utilize it yourself. If you're not a member of the recreation department yet, go sign up as a member through Rec Desk and kind of play through it. Director Grace is probably sick of hearing from me about this, but I do it a lot, and like every time I go through it, there's a little tweak here, or a little tweak there, or suggestions that you might have, and that's all really helpful information. And feedback, so I just encourage you guys to go through it and work through it and see, any thoughts and feedback that you have on it. I will entertain a motion to continue item number 5 to the next meeting,
So moved.
given the time. All in favor? Great. So then we will open up for public comment. There aren't other members of the public here, so if there's anybody that would like to say anything at this time, please open up. Members of the board, you guys have anything that you want to add, or any agenda items in the future that you want to touch upon, or is there anything that you're thinking about in particular?
While you're thinking, I just got one thing, just to show you guys, just so you guys know what we're doing. We're helping out PTSD with their attendance campaign as well. So this is something I was working on when I was there. So we're gonna have these in like all the rec centers, and they're gonna match what's in the PTSD, and we're doing a whole attendance intervention plan for this. So there's 3 areas that we're doing it. We're looking to support students, families, and then how can the community get involved, right? So this is gonna be the next move is we can't do it alone, and we don't have the resources to do it alone, so we need volunteers and people to do this. So that's what we're focusing on to help them out as well.
Well done. All right, well, unless anybody has anything else to add, we will wrap up. So, I want to just wish you guys all and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for the work that we've done. Director, we're all thankful for the department and the work that you guys do every day. But lots to be thankful for this season, and hope you guys all have a great holiday with your family. We will reconvene in December, at some point, going into the new year. And I'll have agenda items and whatnot moving forward on that. And as always, we are very thankful to our clerks who hit the road show with us, and make this happen for us, all the time, and are very accommodating. So thank you, ladies, very much for all you do.
Thank you.
Just have we been to all the rec centers yet?
We have not now.
Okay.
No, this is number, I think it's number, is it 5?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I feel like we went to so many more. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we just started the road show in earnest in like March, I think, right? Right,
Yeah, a couple months off or something.
Madam Clerk?
Come again?
When did we start doing it? Was it March we started going on the road?
I think so.
Around there?
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, we broke for the summer.
Yeah. But it's been 5. We've been to Vincent Brown, Battistini today, Igliozzi,
Yeah.
Kennedy, and West End.
Jocelyn.
And
And
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn. Oh,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right.
All right. Forgot about Jocelyn.
Well, as always, we're thankful to you guys for the road show. I know this is not something that every board does, but it's important to us.
We appreciate the
Really
combination.
appreciate you guys. Thank you. With that, I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
No move.
Second.
Second, all in favor? All right. That is the end of